Okay, hey, it's Friday. It's been a long Friday, kind of crazy. We had a big class today and they were working on this pillow. So I thought I would share some of this with you guys. So this is a pillow base that you can make and then change out the cover that fits in front. So like this is just the plain pillow, and then the pillow cover attaches with elastics on the buttons, and so you can change it out. It's not my design. You can change it out seasonally or holidays or whatever you want to do. So a bunch of girls were working on this today, and the way that it's done, each one of these little panel pieces, so I have 4 corners, 4 sides, and 2 centers, because it's really big. It's a 20-inch pillow. So you make the individual pieces and then put them together. And people aren't always very successful with that. If you ever see someone who's done a tile scene or some of the projects from either Hoop Sisters or Kimberbell, you know, you make those individual pieces and then they gotta line up. And they can be the most beautiful quilted pieces, but if you don't put them together so that things line up, it just takes so much away from it, and it's like your eye focuses right on that spot where those 2 lines don't quite meet. So if we look close at this one, if I do say so myself, you can't see any of those outline stitches. So each one of these blocks consisted of an outline stitch and then a decorative stitch in the middle, whether it be these swirls or a meandering, what do they call that, Catherine?
Stippling.
Thank you. So all of that to go together. So they asked how to do this. So I said that I would make a video because class was long done. And I said we would make a video on how I do that, the method that I use that I have been the most successful with. And so my method, oh, you know what? Let me show you while I have you. So this is one of the blocks that goes on top. So see how everything comes together. And you can't see the line of stitches that outlined these blocks, where those come together. And I try to make my satin stitch all blend. And I mean, no one's perfect and neither am I, but this is my most successful method. I call it poke, pin, and clip. So now that we're going to talk about that. This is my next set of blocks. So these are going to come together and make a cute little birdhouse. So as you can see here, I've cut down my piece to a 1/4 inch seam allowance. The seam allowance is not really that important because I'm not going by the seam allowance. I'm going by these block lines, these outlines, the tack down when I did my fabric. So if you look on the back, there was a placement stitch for the batting. Then we put the batting on top of the stabilizer so that I completely cover the placement stitch. Then the machine comes back in and does this line of stitches, which tacks that batting down, and you trim. Then you're going to add a piece of fabric to that, and then this line of stitches outside of that is the tack down for the fabric, and that's the line of stitches that we're going to concentrate on today. That is the line of stitches that we have to bring together, align, and stick in our seam allowance so nobody can see them, but we know they're there. So the other thing that we have to consider is where things come together. Anytime that a line of stitches comes together, we have to pay attention so that they flow from one to the other. And if you look, these 2 panels were done on 2 separate machines, and they don't really line up. But we're going to make them line up, whether they like it or not. So we'll start first. Oh, these are the pins that I like to use with this. They are magic pins, and They're really kind of short, silk fine. They're heat resistant, but the thing I like about them is they're short. I can poke between two layers and they don't bend as much. Like if you look at, I like these too, but for this purpose, I need a really straight pin, and these are just so long, they get bent over time. So I like these little magic pins, and we're going to use those and some clips, and we're going to make things happen. So first of all, we're going to be very careful that our blocks are headed in the right direction, because if I have my point of my birdhouse pointed at the bottom, that's just not going to look good. So the first thing we're going to do is make sure we know what direction the block is going to go in, and then we'll flip them over right sides together. I'm going to come down here to that tack down stitch, and the corner is right there, and I'm going to poke through that corner, and I can check it on the other side to see how precise I was. Oh boy, somebody needs to get me new glasses. So here I am in the corner, and here's my other corner of the piece that I'm going to join it to, and I'm going to poke it right in that corner and stick it through. So if I leave this like this, or if I pinned this way, these two lines that I'm trying to keep right on top of each other are no longer going to be lined up. I guess I could, and I have in the past, come through with a second set of pins and pinned across, you know, perpendicular to the line of stitches that I'm going to do. However, since we have clips, I don't even need to do that. I don't have to worry about anything getting caught as I'm stitching it out. So when I take this little pin, I want to make sure that it is straight up and down. That tells me that those two lines are on top of each other and they're straight and square. Square meaning, you know, directional, plumb, and all that. All those words my husband says that I don't really pay attention to. So I have that. That is my corner. And then I'm going to do one down here. No, I'm not sewing here, but I do want to make sure that my pieces line up. So I'm going to poke that one too and make sure it's nice and straight and lined up. And then I'm going to stick a clip there. And then I can take it out because it's clipped. So now we're going to talk about the next point that I want to make sure I get is where those satin stitches, here's the back of my work again, I'm going to go on the outside of that satin stitch, and I'm going to line it up with the outside of the one below it. So I'm going to put those in and line them up and make sure it is straight. See how I'm a little off down here? Because these don't really line up. We're going to make them line up. So I'm going to make sure that this one is straight up and down. That makes that corner a nice square corner. And I'm going to stick a clip in there. Is it still straight? Yep. Okay, we're going to move down to this one. I have that, the far side of that satin stitch. Now I'm going to do the other side of that satin stitch because we want to make sure that they are really lined up well. So I'm going to come and I'm going to peek inside. So I have my poke of my pin, and I'm going to peek and get it straight just like that. So now both of my pieces are really lined up well. And then I'm going to clip it. Okay, we're going to move on. So now we have the difficult part because these lines don't line up. So we're going to make them line up. We're going to come to the far side of my satin. Then we're going to poke the other piece of my satin. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to poke this piece and align it with the one underneath. So those line up really well. I'm making sure that my pins are straight and square. And then I'm going to clip it. Okay, now those are going to stay. So now we're going to talk about this big distance in between. I could just start sewing, and when I got here, I would hope that everything here stayed straight until I get down here. Is that likely to happen? I could get lucky, but my grandpa's name was Murphy, so I doubt it. We're going to try and split the difference. So where one is a little bigger than the other, we're going to split the difference. We're going to line them up. I'm going to poke that seam, and I'm going to line it up with the one underneath. Okay, everybody's still very straight. Now I'm going to clip it. And now we're going to talk to the corner here. These corners aren't looking too friendly. Not too bad, but we're going to poke and clip them. So here we are in our corners. Boy, I should really trim these. Nobody tell my boss I leave dangly tails like this. So we're going to poke right in there. And we're going to poke the one underneath. Oof. And now I'm going to maneuver this until my pin is straight. See? Now I'm going to clip it. And I'm actually going to probably start at this end. And then one more. I'm going to just make sure that my side is square. So one more pin. Poke. Oh, that was really good. It gives me good feelings that I've done this well when things are just kind of sliding together. Now I'm going to take all my pins out because I should be very secure in the way that these come together. Okay, no more pins. We're just on clips. Now let's talk down here. I have my machine set up. This is an Epic 3, but it works the same no matter what machine. Even if I was on my Emerald, I would do it the same way. I have it set for a heavy woven because I have all these layers together. Now when I look at my foot, I have this red line here in the center that should line up. That is my center needle position, should line up right with my needle. So when and you know what? I normally would use a stiletto with this as well, but it's Friday, it's late. Let's wing it. So when I line this up, I want that seam that I'm following, that outer seam, to line up right along the right side of that red line. And I'm going to keep it there. So I'm going to put my foot down. I'm going to take this clip out. I'm going to just use my hand to keep it where it was. I'm going to put my foot down and see how I've lined this up with right next to, it's going to run right along the right side of, sorry, I'm not sure I can sew and talk at the same time, but I'll do my best. I'm going to run that right along the right side of that red line. And I'm just going to follow straight down. I'm going to go slow. I'm not going to let the clip bump into the foot, because if I do that, it might shift those two seams. So this is when I would use a stiletto oftentimes to just make everything flow nice together. I'm getting close to my foot. I'm going to take the next one out. I'm going to go all the way down. Whew. I can check it one more time here at the end. Oh, it looks so good. And cut. Who says I'm a messy sewer? I'm putting my stuff away as I go. All right, all the clips are off. Let's see how we did. So, not too bad. Check that out.
Looks good.
Yes, ma'am. And they all come together. And no line there. So I think that's pretty good. So, I missed you all. I hope you missed us. I know we took a little hiatus there during the holidays. We were crazy. And I hope you give us a thumbs up. I hope you share our video. Give us lots of comments. Where are you from? What would you like to see? And I guess that's all I have to say about that. Keep stitching.